Hey guys, it's Kiki, and it is another 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge video. This challenge was created by Kevin Cross here on the YouTubes. You can see a link to his channel, his first foray into the challenge, and the Facebook group all in the description below. Essentially, this challenge is for 100 days consecutively. You work at a minimum of 30 minutes a day on your personal comic projects, and then you make a social media post of some kind. Originally, it was to be a YouTube video, but you can use pretty much any social media nowadays to show what you do. Keep you honest, I do videos. Now that spill's done. This is my day 21, and if you've been following along, you've probably seen this sketch before. And it's not the same video, but it's the same sketch. This is my default pose, if you haven't figured that out. Hands on hips, legs spread, legs like cocked. And anyway, I'm still working through the medium to work on it. It's, as I've said a couple times, it's been a little while since I've drawn. It's been a long time since I've done comics regularly. So I'm kind of figuring that back out. And I'd stated in yesterday's video that I'm a little worried about choosing to do this traditionally. Though traditional work is my preference, and if I'm doing any kind of illustration or something like that, I usually stick to traditional, although I do have many in my past that are digital, but my preference is traditional. The cost of doing that as a comic may be a slightly prohibitive for me. I joke about being poor, but I'm not poor. I just have to, I'm not at a place where I can't, I really have to budget. And replacing expensive art supplies constantly is not something really that I can do. And depending on how much product I'm using, one thing I would say about in relation to markers, when you're doing something like this, Copics really do work in the fact of you can buy, yes, they're expensive at the forefront, but they have refills. Because it is a pigment alcohol-based marker that work great. Now, I use mostly Prismacolor because they're cheaper and they still are pretty good product. The thing with them, though, is they are disposable, non-refillable. Now, there is a trick you can do to kind of refill them and make them last a little longer. My friend Will made a video about that some years ago. I'll link to that in the description as well. Which is something I use. The problem with that is that it does dilute the color because Prismas are a color core with alcohol solution marker, and it doesn't replenish the color of it, it just replenishes the alcohol in it, and that causes the color to dilute. And so if you do it a couple of times, you completely change that color. Because it just weakens and lightens. I have two, I think that it's a blue slate marker here. I'm going to go ahead and post a picture of I have two of them, they're blue slate, one that's newer, one that's been refilled, and you can tell the difference. They're the same damn marker, but when you put them down, they're so different because one's been refilled a couple times. And so that's a problem, especially if you're looking into continuity, like with a comic. If you're doing illustrations, you can adapt. But when you're doing a comic and you need the continuity of the same colors, especially for like skin tones, hair, and stuff like that, it becomes a problem. So, now, in the past, for the most of this, I've been using primarily markers. Here in this video, essentially I'm playing around with doing a little more mixed media, which is what I prefer. I just hadn't, as I've said previously, I have art supplies that are kind of all over my house. I need to get them all together. I know I keep saying that, and there's story about that, and I think I'm going to talk about that in another video. But yeah, it's not like I have this giant house that it's, that things are hidden in crevices. I live in a pretty small apartment. There is extenuating circumstances to the fact that I haven't gotten my stuff together. And I kind of will talk about that in another video. Yeah, because the thing I want to talk about here in this video, which is related to what I'm doing. As I said previously, did I say this previously? I've recorded this audio a couple times. I've drawn the same thing for the last couple of videos. And the same, it's an image of myself, the same pose and everything, same colors. And it's just me working through the medium. And it's something that has been brought up a couple of times in the Facebook group, is talking about what do you count as part of the challenge? Because the challenge is what you're working on. And I think I do understand that it makes it more entertaining video if you're seeing different things, like, actually drawing and painting and coloring panels and all that good stuff. But there's so much more to making a comic. Especially if you're starting from the beginning and you don't, like, if you're already into it and you start this challenge in the middle of that, then it might be something a little more visually interesting. But that's not all there is to making a comic. There is working out how you're going to make that comic, working out the way that the things look, mediums. If you're doing a web comic, there's website stuff you have to work on. There's a lot to it. And I think, while I understand, because I believe Kevin Cross, I'm also going to link this in the description. He did a recommendation, and there's actually on the Facebook group as well a recommendation about it. And some of the things it talks about is do the script before you do the challenge and stuff like that, because it's harder with videos and showing what you're doing to have scripting in that. I understand making these videos or these posts visually entertaining and appealing, but I think there's also something to say for showing the process, especially somebody who's never done it or has tried it and failed and they didn't know what they maybe were missing, and giving them ideas of things to, when they try again, to do. And so while I'm not going to record every tiny little thing that I do for this, I do want to show some of the more tedious parts of this, because it's not all rainbows and pretty art. Some of it's fucking tedious. Pardon my language. It is exhausting and as fun as doing your damn taxes. And it's just part of the process. And so I consider those things, those tedious things, as part of the challenge, as completely something that you can do that is part of that 30 minutes, not just the art creating portion of it. And it may not, it may not be as visually entertaining, but that's not the whole reason of this. I think, I really think this challenge, in essence, is not only to keep yourself, honest, but it's also showing your process. Because I know people that want to get into, making comics and stuff, they want to see that. I know that that's a thing because I see people ask for it on other people's stuff. I've been asked, and I'm going to show that. I'm going to, because as I said in the video where I kind of got a little ranty about people making comics, it makes me super excited when people want to get into this. But I also want them to understand that there's a lot to it, and that they need to understand that and be willing to work hard for that. Anyway, I've been rambling for almost 10 minutes now. Well, and almost 9 minutes. 9 minutes now. And yeah, I have a few other topics I'm going to talk about in the next couple of videos. You're going to see something different in the next video. I'm not going to be drawing the same damn thing. But I'm going to go to bed because I have to be at work tomorrow. One more week until my vacation. Woohoo! I will see you guys on day 22.